What's good? It's Brittany Sunshyne. Welcome to Flower and Fire, where we revelate, reflect, and remember to dig deep as we keep each other company along the way. And don't forget to believe in your daydreams. Let's dive in. So when we think about how everything, let's go back to the beginning. In the beginning, he spoke the worlds into being. And regardless of whether you want to believe that or if you want to believe that it just all happened somehow and there was a big bang, it's like, well, what made the bang happen? And what two things collided to make a bang happen? So anyway, no matter how we want to argue about how things came to be, it's confusing because it's like we don't know. There still had to be some initiation point that was created somehow by something, somewhere, someone, whatever. So something that science does support is the concept that everything breaks down into a single molecule, every single thing. So, even the wood surfaces to your skin, it's still composed of the same core molecule. And the molecule, it combines. So these molecules are running around being molecules, and then they create waves, and those waveforms are what make sound and light and matter. And so anyway, when we realize that, it then leads to, let's look at music, like, let's think about how the sound of music, they're all the same sounds, like it's all the same root chords or root notes. The notes combined together make chords. The chords combined together create a melody, and the melody is in a it's in a key, and the key emits a tone that, ironically, us as people, we can automatically identify, like, feelings, like how that song feels and how that key makes us feel. So generally speaking, a minor key is that, like, dun dun dun, like, well, that's a bad example, scratch that. But a minor key gives that emotion, that type of feeling that something is spooky or off. It can be also very, like, romantically haunting in a way that's beautiful. Some of my favorite songs are in minor keys, but it brings out of us this awareness of, like, how do we explain it? And then a major key tends to be very kind of more lighthearted, more like, it doesn't just automatically put you on notice that. So that's why they use music to move people, because it literally moves us emotionally and intellectually and at this core root level that is it's pretty profound if you think about it. It's very profound. Although, let's talk about for a moment how we can be culturally conditioned to become familiar with a sound that might be jarring to another culture. So for example, have you ever heard of those tribes where they're like loud and yelling, and maybe it sounds aggressive, and to them it's very familiar, normal, nobody is like scared, but to us it's like, oh, like, are they angry, are they violent, but it's just because it's different than what we've been conditioned to our whole life, which there's a whole word in there about, just because something is familiar to you does not mean that it's good or safe. It doesn't just automatically mean that it's anything. Just because something is familiar doesn't automatically mean it's anything. So that's where, it's really, parents have the most crucial job, because their children come into this world just automatically idolizing them, thinking they're the best, thinking they know everything. And it's this journey of despair to find out that your parents don't know it all, and to have to try and unprogram what was programmed wrong. especially if they told you they know it all and that they're never wrong and that they got it like that. And then, so you're like going through life thinking you got it like that too, only to find out you don't. So keep growing. Don't stop within your immediate family or your hometown to believe that it's got all the answers and that that's the only way. Look outside, read more than one book, and be open to the illumination of the whole picture. So, anyway, isn't it interesting how music can give us this feeling, and so therefore it carries within it this sound, this spirit, almost like it carries within it this whole energy, and that's called a frequency. And with that, I mean, I'm not a pro on this all yet, but it's my life's desire to learn everything there is to know about sound. Because I went through this season where for like over a year straight, the creator kept telling me, it's in the sound. It's in the sound. That was just on repeat. It's in the sound. I'm like, what's in the sound? What's in what sound? You're driving me crazy. Like, what? What is in the sound? And in whose sound? And in what sound? Like, am I supposed to sing? Am I supposed to make music? Am I supposed to learn just about quantum physics? Am I supposed to just learn about sound healing? Like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me, but it's in the sound. Yo, okay? So here I am, just using my voice. And one thing that did occur to me is that the one thing that AI will never have its own voice and its own body that is inherently made up of the supernatural DNA of the authentic creator. You know what I'm saying? Like every AI will be a copy of a copy of a copy of a voice. It will never be its own voice supported by a supernatural soul that came here through the magic of conception. Do you know what I'm saying? So it just made me realize that there's something really profoundly powerful about our voices. And also we should all be ever aware that they have technology now in which they can copy people's voices and replicate it, and they could make it as if you said something that you never said. So that's pretty crazy. And we shouldn't take at face value everything that we hear. You know, if they're like, so-and-so said this, and we're like, oh my gosh, so-and-so said that? You know, if you weren't there in real person witnessing it yourself, take it with wisdom. But anyway, and actually, I got this idea from a colleague, and I even called my mom and told her about it. It's such a good idea. If you're anybody that has voice recordings of yourself anywhere, like a lot of us do, you can come up with a code word that's in your family, so that if your family ever gets a phone call supposedly from you and it sounds just like you, and this, you know, this person on the phone that sounds like you is saying they need money or they're in this dire situation, you can have a code word that only your family knows, and you can ask the person the code word and then see if it's really you on the other side of the line. So super important to do with kids, and especially the elderly and anybody else. But back to it. So what's wild is not only is there frequency in terms of sounds that we can like identify based on the key and the timbre and the tone of a song, but also there's frequencies that have to do with the resonance in the air, with the vibration of the sound in the air. And if any of us want to tune in to believe that he spoke this whole joint into being, that means that it was through the vibrations of his sound that created everything. And that's why in the word it says to speak something that is not as though it is. But you can't just say it without the gumption of the currency of faith. You've got to have the faith. And the real faith actually produces with it hope. And this real hope actually carries with it a currency that is, faith is the currency. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the evidence of things unseen. So faith is the actual substance, and the trust comes with real trust, comes with a surrender for dessert. Just being like, okay, like, I know it's about to come through. Like, however is the best way for the highest good. It's, it's on its way because I submitted the request, ordered up, and let it be so. So the parts about this that I'll never quite understand is like, how come some players in the game come in and just try and mess with the game? I don't know. That's the part I don't. I think ultimately it's an individualized process. You can't fake it for anybody else, and you can't sub it in for them. Maybe temporarily for a miracle, but not for an ongoing life transformation, because then that's not free will. If you're forcing you must receive a good life, like if the creator himself didn't force that on us, then who are we to force it on somebody else? But the ones that are searching and seeking and that desire to know the mysteries of the kingdom, which the kingdom is just, the good stuff, there is a way to apply the principles so that it can be activated in your life. And it's really an amazing journey. So getting down to everything, so when you start to think about that, every single thing is made from this single molecule, and then the molecules gathered together create the waves, and the waves create the matter, and the matter is all moving, actually, which is wild to think about, until you drop acid and you see that everything is moving. And then you can see with divine lenses and see the colors and see the realms and all that jazz. But anyway, shout out to everybody that didn't know I did acid before. Shout out. Actually, and jokes on me, I guess, because one of the times was not by choice, and it happened to be one of the most traumatic events of my life. But you better believe your girl rode that shit out like a freaking champion. And the only reason I knew how to do that is because I'd done it before. So you gotta just, when you're in the battlefield, you better know how to freaking war. And sometimes it's knowing how to win the game by being in the game. But yeah. So the point is, what else matters, what else really is something knowledge or worth acknowledging, is that to realize that everything is a wave with of matter. It's also to realize that things have frequency. Things have a certain frequency with them. How do I say this? So, okay, hey, here's this. Have you ever started like spiritually evolving and tuning in, and then you start to realize like the garbage food you eat, and all of a sudden you're like, I can't eat that. Like, that's not food. And just like weird, and then like the annoying commercials on the radio. One of the first things I did through my spiritual awakening is to pay to never hear commercials ever again on any platform. My music, we don't have commercials. On any streaming, we don't do commercials because I believe there's subliminals in there, and I believe that it's literally set to frequency to fuck up your day and to make you buy stuff and to make you afraid and to make you stressed, whatever they're trying to do to move you to get their product. And I'll never forget, at this like Christian coffee shop that I worked at, I was like, can we get these freaking commercials? And she's like, I'm thinking it's $10. Like, you can't swing $10 a month to save us from hearing these stupid commercials every hour on the hour, and everybody that's here who's trying to study and learn and write. And she's like, it just comes with it. And I'm thinking, no, it doesn't just come with it. Do everybody here a favor and protect them with a $10 monthly fee from the bullshit that comes through these airwaves every single hour. But I don't know how to explain all this stuff to everybody, so I just didn't say anything. But I'm saying it now. So those are the kinds of ways that you can start to protect your bubble, because everything is carrying a vibe, a vibration. And it's so funny. I'll never forget this dude when I was at some Christian, like, global, I probably shouldn't name drop it. I was at nobody would know of it anyway, trust me, it's a freaking scam. But I went to this program it was supposed to be a missions program. It was a total scam. And anyway, this guy, when I said something like vibe or energy, he's like, I don't ever remember saying that in the Bible. I'm like, okay, dude. This is also a man that told, that pulled the card of God told me to marry you, one of those. And she took it hook, line, and sinker. It's like, do you not know the same God that he knows? You think he can't tell you too? Gross. Anyway, I digress. So back to how everything has a frequency. Yo, alcohol has a frequency. And I'll never forget when I read, this is one of those things too, where like when my life started changing, when I started tuning in, and I'm like, there's certain ways of life that I don't really want to go that way, and I don't really want to go that way, and I'm watching how things are playing out for people, and I don't really like how it's playing out for certain people, and I don't really want my life to go in that direction. And alcohol was one of those things. And don't get me wrong, I still love to have a delicious beer, and I love a glass of red wine. And sometimes I even get real crazy and I might have a freaking Moscow Mule. So don't think that I'm like some like perfect. Not that drinking makes you imperfect. But the point is this. The point is I'm aware that it carries a negative vibe, like frequency. It's a low vibe thing. And you just have to look at it kind of like your body is your fish tank. You can put some things in there and everything will still survive. But if you douse the whole thing with alcohol, ongoing, relentlessly, because especially if you're doing it trying to make yourself feel better, it's the biggest scam, because up front, it gives you this fake happy energy. And, sometimes that shit is needed for the moment. And so you're like, listen, I'm going to pay for this later, and I'm going to take the fake energy right now because, it's my girl's birthday and we need to dance and it's that time. And then sometimes it's like, no, I don't, but that's not the regular. That's not what you do every day or every weekend. It's because then it kills kills your gut bacteria. And then now you're feeling depressed and it doused your body with this negative vibe frequency. So anyway, there's a video out there. Ask me if you care to know what it is, and I'll track it down for you and put it in the comments if anybody cares. There's a video where the guy was talking about how every single alcohol has a certain frequency. And then you think about, so anyway, and by the way, I believe that different things mix and mingle in people's atmospheres and in the ecosystem of their being differently. And I think that it's this really funny thing that the creator made it so creative, because he's like, it's not going to be across the board the same for everyone for all the things. Like, this might be your thing and you need to steer clear of it. And then this other thing, that same thing might not be a big deal to this guy over here, but he has to steer clear of something else. And it's all just about managing the frequency of your life, managing the song of your life, managing the mood of your life, and choosing to not always be being reactive, but rather being proactive to get your mindset, get your vibration, to get the frequency of your life into a key that sounds good, that brings hope and energy and is healthy and life-giving and promotes good things for the future. And what's wild about it is that we really do have the responsibility as well as the ability to do all that. And sometimes it's a little bit scary to think about we have that much responsibility on our shoulders. But at the end of the day, I do believe that we have a divine team that is ever supporting us and here for us, but it doesn't negate that we still have a part to play in the whole thing. Thanks for being here, homie. Remember to daydream and be blessed, be well, be free.